the same thing, Ben. Welcome back to the Words from the Nerds podcast, where we bring you all of our nerdy thoughts and discussions and opinions. And as you guys can see, we have our wonderful co-host Aiden back this week. He was sorely missed last week on a rather bigger week for the podcast. Not bigger week, but just whenever there's a Marvel movie coming out or some kind of big comic book movie, it's kind of a bigger week for us here. And Aiden just decided to skip out. So good for you, buddy. Nice job.
R.I.P. Grandpa. R.I.P. Grandpa, by the way. R.I.P.
Grandpa. Yeah. So if I'm kidding. Just so people know. But yes, Aiden is back. Aiden, how was your time away? How was the funeral festivities?
It was nice, man. It was a nice little week. Got to see all the family. Got to visit. Got a little fish hook. Got inked up this week for the man that passed over. Big fisherman. So yeah, it was pretty nice. It was fun. It was nice to get away from everything for a while, work-wise, and just kind of chill out. We got 12 inches of snow here the night before we were leaving. And the day that we were leaving, I had to drop off my dog to his sitters. And so I'm driving my fiance's car the whole time. I already got stuck in the snow once that day. And these like two people that work at the auto shop that I was stuck nearby came and pushed my car for me. And so I'm driving to the people we're dropping him off at. And I take this like little back road. I take the wrong turn. It's a different street name. It's the same street, but it's broken up. So I thought I had the right street down. And as I'm going up the hill, the car is just like kind of barely getting by. And then I realize, oh, there are no tire marks on this street, which is odd because they have like a passing, like, I don't know, it's not a main street, but whatever. And then I look at the houses and I'm like, oh, there's a dead end, which is not what is on their street. And none of these houses look like their house. So I'm like, awesome. I'm definitely in the wrong neighborhood. I'm going to have to reverse and get out of here. So I pull into someone's driveway. I reverse. And I guess I just didn't like see the road. I didn't realize like, cause everything's covered in snow, obviously. And I get stuck on the way up and I get out to look. And as I open my door, the snow is literally right there to where the door is. Like it's opening the door, brushed some of the snow off the top. So I'm like, great. And I get out and I'm doing all this in my house shoes. So my shoes and socks were soaking wet by the time it was all done. And I have to go sit on a flight and travel for 8 hours. So I go and I look and turns out I'm halfway in a ditch. And I have a huge SUV that is going to be impossible to push out of this ditch onto the road. So I'm just like at it for like 10 minutes, just scraping, trying to get it going. And I make some progress. And finally, a lady comes out of the house that's across the street with a shovel, some salt, and she's decked out. And so she put some salt behind the tires and it got me over and I was able to reverse. And I was like, thank you so much. I have a flight to catch in literally 30 minutes. You have no idea how much you just saved me right now. And she was like, yeah, no, you're good. I was like, I literally have my dog with me. He's just like chilling the whole time in the car. It was horrible. So I finally got off that stump, dropped him off, and I made it on time. So then I got to Texas where it was still cold and rainy, but there was no snow in sight anywhere. And I was like, this is just amazing. Like when we come back to Springfield, there's gonna be no snow. And everything, like we just avoided that whole mess because I would have probably had to work the rest of the week. And yeah, it was great. We got back home and all of the snow was gone and it's been 60 degrees sunny every day since. So we survived that. But other than that, it was good. It was a nice little funeral. I've never had anybody like super close to me pass away in my family. So this was like the first death that was like immediate family or like, you know, aunts, uncles, cousins. This was like the first big one. So yeah, it was cool to see everybody together and yeah, it was pretty nice. I didn't cry, but you know, I kind of view that stuff as like, passed over, nothing you can do about it, and he's not suffering anymore. So it was pretty chill. It was a pretty fun week, and I was more so just glad I got to see everybody. So yeah, it was pretty nice.
Oh, well, you didn't miss out on much. Just Ben's terrible takes again. So,
I thought we
speaking
had
of
a
which,
I thought we had a
speaking
great
of which-
episode.
Speaking
And
of
you know
which,
what? I was gone during a filler episode of Invincible, so that's fine. Like, I didn't have to. I wasn't missing out on one of the biggest moments, and Severance. I guess quite a bit happened, but still, it's like it could have been a lot worse. It could have been like the Ortbo episode and stuff like that. So
yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of Ben and his terrible takes,
I also haven't listened to y'all's episode. I was going to, but I just was so busy with everything this week. I listened to
you're too
some.
good for us, though, huh?
Well, I listened to some because I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, shit, I fell asleep when I was supposed to. Like, I could not stay awake. And I also woke up feeling sick every single day. Like, not sick, but my head hurt and my throat was like sore. So every time I went to sleep, it was just like a massive headache. And so I woke up at 4 a.m. and I listened to some of y'all's takes because I had to like upload and cut everything. So yeah, just want to put that out there.
Benjamin, how are you doing? And how have you been this last week since you dropped your terrible takes?
Like I said, man, I thought we had a pretty good episode last week. I don't know
I'm good at making people think certain things, buddy.
No, I've been pretty good. Been kind of weirdly like edging sickness. Which I mean, I think we talked about it even last week that lots of people around me have been sick. So I'm surprised that I've like fully avoided it so far. Over the weekend, I wasn't feeling great. I honestly wasn't feeling that great today, but I feel good now. So I think I've like still kind of avoided it other than a little bit of an upset stomach over the weekend. So I can't really complain. Other than that, life is good, a little busy, but most of it are really good things that I'm happy about. So I don't have much to complain about. So I feel like a lot of this year has been pretty much the same for me. Like I've just been watching a lot of stuff and then really busy otherwise with like work and school and being married and whatnot. So I feel like it's just true. Like
busy with being married. All right.
I mean, yeah, it's true. My wife and I, we just finished our first show together. We finished The Office. We're watching Severance and keeping up with that. We already started Lost now. That's the next show we're watching. She's already seen all of it. I know nothing about it, so that should be interesting. So yeah, I'm doing great. I think it's been a good start to the year so far. It's crazy that it's basically March already. But it's been great, especially with all these shows, and now we're coming up on like really heavy big release season for movies. So I'm really excited for that. Just to have like I've been going to the theater to watch stuff, but to have more consistent like big releases that I'm really excited about, I'm ready to get into that kind of spring summer mood, and that's coming up soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's this year is kind of flying by quickly. I almost said fast, but speaking of March begins next week. What else begins next week? Daredevil Born Again. And speaking of Daredevil Born Again, that was an addition to Benjamin's list on our list for our most anticipated projects, I believe is what we're calling it for 2025. And if you guys don't know, if you're new listeners, we have a list of 5 different movies and TV shows coming out throughout this year. Each of us have 5 as to what we think is going to be the best projects of the year. And come by the end of the year, the end of December, we are going to tally up our scores based off of the Rotten Tomatoes scores of both the critic score and the audience score, and tally up points and find out who is the winner. Now, firstly, I want to bring up for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I got to find it real quick. Who has not seen our list?
It's episode 79, by the way.
Episode 79 of the podcast. Yes. Here I found it. I'm gonna share my screen, and so
Also,
for my side,
I can't
Go ahead.
believe that was
Go ahead,
5.
bro.
I'm sorry. I just gotta say,
No,
I can't
don't
believe that
care.
was 5 weeks ago. Like
Actually,
what?
it's been 5 weeks. That is
Yes.
crazy. Yeah, when you talk about it like that.
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
So for
I
audio
cooked.
listeners, we will list them out for you. But our visual watchers and listeners, they can obviously see it all as laid bare. But for me, Charlie, I put my number 1 pick, The Last of Us Season 2. We've yet to see what that's going to look like, but it starts on April 13th, and I'm sure Rotten Tomato scores will be coming out even sooner than that. My number 2 pick, Invincible Season 3. And we're bringing this all up because we want to do a little bit of an update on the list since some of these projects have started to come out. And I think so far, I think mine is the first one that has really gotten any traction because Invincible Season 3 is currently airing, as we know. The next one that will be coming up will be Aiden's pick, his number 5 pick, which is Mickey 17, which comes out in theaters next week. But there are already some Rotten Tomato scores out for the film. And also, we are going to get finally Benjamin on the board with his number 2 pick, Daredevil Born Again, next week. But let's transition over to Invincible. And
I'm surprised it dropped. 92 for season 3 is kind of crazy.
It's a bit of a shame there for me, but that's fine. That's fine. I think
It'll go up. It'll go up.
Yeah, it's still, we're still airing. We still got some time. These are the actual, sorry, I had the just overall show ones up, but this is the specific scores for season 3. The critic score being 100% tomato meter, and then the audience score being a 92% for you audio listeners who can't see. So I'm looking pretty good. Right now. Where does that put me point wise? Well,
3.
we have what did you just say to me, boy?
3 points so far if it stays right there.
Wait, well, hold on, because Ben put the point list in the let me see if I can share the Discord real quick.
Oh, did he put something else?
You get points for audience and critic score. So
yeah,
3 points for audience and then a full 6 points.
Oh,
yeah.
I think I used the restroom while y'all were breaking down like the logistics of it. I didn't know we were factoring in critics. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're doing both audience and critic score, and so for the critic score for Invincible, that nets me 6 points, and then for the audience score of Invincible season 3, that's going to net me 3 more points. So I have a total of 9 points right now on the board, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes. If that goes up or down, I'm not sure how that ranking will go. But now let's head on over to Mickey 17.
I got some things to say about this.
And see where Aiden is sitting. Now, keep in mind, we do not have the audience score for this movie yet because obviously the grander audience has not gotten to see it until next week. And next weekend, everybody will get to see it. But as for right now, we're sitting at an 88 critics-wise. But Aiden, go ahead. Say what you're wanting to get off your chest.
Okay, so it actually opened up at like what 77% critic score. It was not looking good, and I've been so hell bent on this list situation we got going on that I've been checking this every other day, and I've never done that in history. Is just hawk down a movie's Rotten Tomato score weekly. So it started off at a 77, and then it got all the way up as high as at 89. Yesterday, it dropped to 87. Today, it's back at 88. So I don't know. I don't know when they stop taking reviews. I see that Invincible Season 3 only has 20 critic reviews.
Yeah.
So I'm like...
Whereas Mickey 17 has 40. So
yeah. So I don't know. that would put me at 2 points for the critic score. So then I would have to hope that the audience at least is 90 through 97 to at least get me a little bit up there. But I don't know. I have faith that the popcorn meter, the audience score, will be pretty high. It's Bong Joon-ho, like when does he ever miss? I think Parasite, which I don't think this will be on the same level as Parasite. Parasite is pretty high up there, and a lot of people are saying that, which this doesn't correlate with Parasite, but I saw some reviews saying that this is his best English movie yet, which is kind of a low bar, but regardless, I will take any good news I can get out of a pick that I just kind of had to throw in because Beef season 2 was up in the air. So, I'm fine with this. It is what it is. Hopefully this when the movie comes out, the audience and critic score skyrockets. But
I was thinking something we might want to like think about incorporating maybe like next year, or we can incorporate it now. I don't know. We'll leave it up to the panel, but maybe like the ability to drop something. We have one drop maybe, and we can trade for something else. So then you'd have to think about how to use it and why wisely as the year goes on, and like maybe like you're hearing some things, but I don't know. We can. I mean, we're early enough in the we can incorporate it right now if you guys wanted to, or we can wait until.
I like it, but like say if I drop Mickey 17 for something, if Mickey 17 is completely erased, there's nothing like it's it. That's it. Like it has nothing to do with it. It's basically like you're only going up, but you're still taking that risk. Yeah. I like it. I like it though. I like it.
I think it would depend on what that looks like. Like, do you get to drop your lowest after you know that it's your lowest? And then obviously, like, you'd have to pick something before it releases. And then also maybe, like, how do we determine that from like our perspective of, does somebody just get to claim it and say like, oh, I'm making this trade and it's just first come, first serve? Because before we did the draft in the episode.
Sure.
So then it's, how do we actually officially switch that around?
Maybe we'd have to do it maybe on an episode, and maybe that's a good point as well. Also, like we can only drop stuff that like has no scores yet. Maybe like let's say Aiden and I would not be able to drop Invincible and Mickey 17, but since technically there's no scores for Daredevil yet, you could drop. Not that you would, but you could drop Daredevil since there's still no scores for it. If you really like are doubting that pick, even though, and like actually like since there's no numbers out for it right now, like if the news for Daredevil was bad, which spoiler alert we're going to talk about in a second, it's not. They are not bad for Daredevil, at least the first 2 episodes. Then you would have like, since there's no scores out, you'd have a little bit of like a heads up of like, hey, maybe this isn't going to be great. Maybe I should drop it. But I don't know. I mean, just a thought thrown around. I'm not even like specifically pushing for it or anything.
And you can also do that. You could do that in reverse to like try and boost your list. Like I saw today that they are doing at one of some film festival event of some kind that they're screening the new How to Train Your Dragon movie like 2 months before it comes out is one of the screenings there.
It's a good sign.
So it's like, if that's getting like raving reviews, maybe you say, I'm not super confident that Ballerina is going to hit. I'm actually going to swap it out. Not because Ballerina isn't going to be highly rated, but you could trade for something that might be even more highly rated as well.
Sure. Yeah. And that's the push and pull. And maybe at the end of the day, Ballerina actually does do better, and you shouldn't have maybe gotten rid of How to Train Your Dragon. But by that point, it's already too late, But I don't know. We'll think on it. It's nothing to decide right now. That's totally fine. But so that leaves so far right now, Aiden still needs to get the audience score for Mickey 17. But that leaves Aiden with, according to our list, 2 points currently. But he will get more whenever we get that audience score. And Benjamin will start getting some points next week with the official reviews for Daredevil dropping, I believe, the day the day the show drops, I think.
which
I don't know
is
if people are seeing the
Tuesday.
whole show or not.
Well, no, I mean, it's the same as Invincible.
Okay,
I
so they're
don't
getting
think
because
critics
well,
have seen the.
Invincible this season they only got to see up to 6 episodes. So
Gotcha.
so
Yeah.
after tonight's episode, I don't think reviewers know what's happening. But-
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is we did say like these scores are a good indication, but also nothing matters till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Um,
So however these ebb and flow as
yeah.
the year goes on.
But typically, if something's in the 70s or the 80s, it's going to stay around there. And at least how we've scaled it, if it's in the 70s, it's going to, still be the same point value, even if it fluctuates every like a couple points up or down doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah. So yeah, I am sitting at a cool 9 points currently, and Aiden is sitting at a cool 2 until further notice, and Ben's sitting at a cool 0. List ain't looking too good now, buddy, huh? Fucking trash can.
Probably the only time you're going to be able to say that.
Let me revel in it, bro. Let me revel in it. But I want to go back to Aiden a little bit and talk about his thoughts that we did not get last week on both the finale and overall show of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, as well as Captain America Brave New World. So Aiden, I'll let you take it away. Start with whichever one you would like.
All right. Yeah, I'll keep this quick. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I thought episode 9 was again fantastic. I love the work that they're doing with Peter in that episode. I am quite a bit removed from that, and I've had a lot. Like I watched a lot of One Piece. Obviously, we watched Severance, and then I had a whole flight and a whole check back into reality since then. So my memory's a little fuzzy on it. I do remember really liking episode 9. I like what they did with Peter and that whole sequence with Lonnie, to really show Peter what it means to be Spider-Man and what it means to be a hero. And I think this final batch of episodes was really that Peter finally coming to his own as in terms of knowing what it means to be Spider-Man. We see that with the amazing conversation he has with Doctor Strange, and then ending it off with that awesome, perfect speech at the end of episode 10, which was a lot of setup. I like the time loop stuff. It was a really cool and fascinating way to wrap up the story. Kind of call back to episode 1. We set up a lot of season 2 stuff, which is fine. I mean, it does the same thing that Invincible season 1 kind of did, where you end your story, you tease everything that's to come, and then you send your hero off into the sunset for season 2. Peter's dad being alive and in jail, dude, that's fucking crazy. That was really cool.
Voiced
the
by
symbiote.
Josh Keaton. Thank you.
Really?
Yeah. It's the
Holy
spectacular
shit.
Spider-Man, brother. Come on now. Put some
Spider
respect on my
Wan?
brothers.
Is that what you just said? Spider Wan?
Man, come on, move on. Move on, bro. Move on, bro.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. I also didn't know Yuri Lowenthal voices Spider-Man in Marvel Rivals. I thought that was so sick. I don't know how. I guess I just don't play with a lot of Spider-Man. Anyways, also the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone. I'm lagging. I'm lagging.
I thought it was me.
I thought it was me every time.
It's me. We'll see how it looks.
You can keep talking. I need to change the battery in my headset, though.
You can. We'll see how it looks in post. Anyways, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi voices someone in Marvel Rivals. I want to say, I don't think it's Thor. Anyways, neither here nor there. But yeah, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I thought it ended off pretty strong. I'd probably give the season as a whole an 8.5 out of 10. It can't really complain with it too much. They did a lot of really cool things with showing MCU characters interacting with Peter. Again, showing his come to moment with being Spider-Man and what that means and what he has to do from here on out. And like I said, I really like that moment where he asked Doctor Strange if will he be ready for what's to come, and Doctor Strange is just like, I think you got it. I think you can handle it. Really excited for season 2, and I'm so happy that they are looking to drop these yearly. That makes me incredibly happy. I feel like we're in a time where after the SAG strike, after COVID, a lot of these shows are going to be looking to kind of drop a lot quicker. I know Invincible has promised that, and after that wait, that was a horrible, grueling wait between season 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm excited to see these shows kind of get fast tracked. I know Daredevil, they already have an episode, like a whole season planned out for season 2. I'm assuming they filmed a lot of this stuff and then realized they weren't going to be able to do 18 episodes, so they split it into
I think they said that
3,
Daredevil
right?
is going to be coming out next year too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's cool to see a lot of these shows kind of fast track these things. I think there was a report that Severance the writer's room for season 3, has already begun, which is no clear indication of a time frame. But still, it's cool to see these projects, coming out more frequently than we've seen post-COVID and post-SAG strike. So yeah, anyways, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, can't complain. It was great. I had a fun time with it. The entire show was just surprised me every week, kept me on my toes, and yeah, I thought it was awesome. It was a nice little breath of fresh air in terms of Marvel stuff. I've seen people say this show is basically just what if Spider-Man in the MCU was done, good, and it was actually good. And I don't know, I'm not gonna feed into any of that, putting Spider-Man against each other, but figured I'd bring it up. What did y'all think about the final 2 episodes in the season as a whole?
Well, you should watch our episode that we did to find out, bitch. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I listen to all our episodes. Ben never listens to the episodes, all right? Regardless of...
That's true. He's probably still hasn't listened to the one that you and I did without him like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, episode 9, I'm kind of bummed out that we're talking about it so late, because I know that like right off the rip of episode 9, I bet you were geeking, bro. Like I was geeking. I was out of my mind with episode 9. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was the best of the entire series for me. Just watching. I said this last week, and you'll see it if you end up watching the episode. But
I will. Yeah.
I said that this isn't something that I came up with, but someone on Twitter said it. That I love that throughout the series the season, they showed Peter joking and whatnot, like Spider-Man always does. And then in episode 9, when he doesn't and he's completely silent, that it fucking means something, man. Like at the beginning, it's like he's kind of scared and like he has like PTSD because he got his ass whooped by Scorpion. And then later on in the fight, it's because he's just mad. He is so angry and he's just going off on him. And I just amazing stuff. And then I want to actually get your take on the Ben and I also talked about this, the like time paradox that it creates in episode 10 with the spider bite. Do you have any hard thoughts on that?
Not really. I mean, time travel, Loki situation, stuff like that. In a Spider-Man show, I don't really know. It doesn't really feel like it had to be like that. Like there was no reason for them to make it a time loop. There was no reason for any of that, really. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I kind of don't have any strong feelings, because it's like, okay, you can see that they're actively trying to tell a different story about like the spider bite, and like Peter maybe not indirectly caused it, but in a way he had a helping hand in causing his own spider bite. I think that's cool. I think that's something fresh that I at least haven't seen before. A time loop causing Peter in a time loop causing himself to get bit by the spider. So yeah, I mean, I don't really care too much about it. I think it's cool that they're taking like their own little creative liberties. as we've seen throughout the whole season, they're kind of really focusing on not making this just another iteration of Spider-Man. It's more so their twist and their take on the character and the people around him. I don't think I've ever even seen Nico in anything else. I don't even know if she's an original character or not. And so I like that. I like that they're bringing in these new people with these new like powers and things like that. And I've praised it before for their includement. I don't know, them including MCU characters, and even if they just have a small role like Daredevil in episode, I forget the episode number, even just something like that where he just interacts with Peter and then he's gone, and you get a tease in the last episode. Things like that are cool. It's fresh. It's something that we haven't seen before in the MCU, so I can appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I said last week that like it just didn't bother me. Like I can understand like it's an issue, but like I don't care at the same time, which is like it's I don't know, it's very reductive, I guess, to say to put it to that, but like truthfully, I like it doesn't, especially for like how I have probably been perceived as to be like hating on the show throughout its runtime. It's funny to come out and say like I don't care, but I mean, truthfully, I think that like it doesn't. It's a weird thing, and I brought this up on the podcast last week. Also, somebody else posted on Twitter and said, or they put the clip from Oppenheimer up, and he's like, it's paradoxical, and yet it works. And so it's like that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, yeah, it's paradoxical, but like I don't know if I care. So yeah. Not to dwell on the show too much. Let us know what you thought about Captain America.
I'm glad you really strongly liked an episode of the show. It's nice to like genuinely, like it's nice to hear you.
Aiden, I gotta say, we were really positive on it last week.
That's good.
Genuinely, for both episodes and also for the future of the show, we were very much praising. In general, just like the back half of the season really redeemed it for both of us.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, I mean, as long as there was something in this show to make like to give you all that feeling, I'm fine with that. To each their own on how they interpret whatever it is that they're watching. I'm just glad that there was something in there that was like, damn, you know what? That was some good shit. I'm excited. I want more of this, and that's cool. Yes, I'll get into Captain America. I will say, just because I'm remembering right now and I don't want to forget, I did watch and finish X-Men 97. Fucking fantastic. Wow. That is
I'm oh my gosh, that reminds me. I'm sorry. I completely skipped over comments from last week's video.
Wow. We just had one from Brandon. He was just saying the one episode that we're not here, that I'm not here.
I remember reading that because I looked at the episode. But yes, sorry, Brandon. We have one comment from last week's episode on the YouTube channel. And Brandon said, Aiden finally watches X-Men 97 and you guys kicked him off the podcast. What a shame. Which I didn't even because I didn't know at the time that you had watched it. So until
this is their first time. Other than the comment, first time hearing it. Yeah, it's a great show, man. It's again, I'm like almost 2 weeks removed from it. It's fantastic. I loved every second of it. The animation is fucking amazing, dude. It's so good. I love it so much. I've been like on this huge kick of like on TikTok, like all this dark fantasy stuff, and like this one like TikTok sound. I don't know. I'll show y'all later. But
I know what you're talking about for sure.
It's so cool, and like people will even post like, I want a game like this, and it's like an old school like Zelda style, but it's like dark fantasy stuff, and like there's this Orlocks and all. I don't know, it's just really cool to like see all that dark fantasy stuff. So the episode where Ben hasn't finished it, right? Shit. Where we see somebody in an intergalactic empire up there. That episode and those characters that we see, it's like dark space fantasy, and it was so cool. Like the aesthetic of the show is just so awesome.
Real quick, did you restart it all the way, or did you just jump in where you left off?
Yes, I did. I restarted. I restarted and watched it all. But yeah, even just things like that, and then certain people coming back and whatnot. It was really cool. I had a great time with that. I also saw Ninja 2, one of the greatest animated films I've ever seen. It was incredible. It's almost going to cross 3 billion worldwide, I think,
What
or
is
maybe
that
just in
about?
China. It's what is it about? It's hard to explain. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like uh,
I feel like
man,
it's so like under the radar of like my understanding, and then also like
yeah,
I feel like it's under the radar as like as far as becoming the highest grossing animated movie of all time. Like I
yeah,
feel like nobody's talking about that at
yeah.
all. Whereas
Well,
like
I didn't.
Inside Out 2, that was the
Yeah.
conversation for at least the week that it is happening or something.
Well, I didn't know anything about it until Brandon was just like, "Hey, there's this Chinese movie that's doing insane numbers. They're showing it here. Just watch the first one, and then if you want, we can go see it." And I was like, "All right, yeah." And I like sped run the first movie because I was like running low on time to watch it. And then we went and watched the second one. Man, those freaking action moments. Oh my god, it is jaw dropping, bro. Like it is like nothing I've ever seen in an animated format like that before. It really was one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. I really want to go see it again. It's just one of those. It just has the fucking sauce, man. It is so good. So yeah, I can't wait for Ninja 3 to come out in probably 4 or 5 years because that was the time in between the first two. But if y'all ever need something to watch and y'all can find a way to watch, I think the first one's free on YouTube. Um,
Oh,
y'all can go ahead and check it out.
I was gonna
I
say
think
because
it's
the sequels, it's
cool.
not airing. It's not on my theater. Like it's in theaters, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
here at least, I get the AMC, I know for sure, and then some Regals and Cinemarks are playing it. But the first one is really good. There is a dub option. You can watch it dubbed. The second one is just fully subbed. We couldn't find any dubbed option. So, but yeah, definitely check that out, y'all or whoever's listening. It is like that. It is like that.
Oh, so
Um,
is it actually like deserving of the box office numbers? Because I feel like at some
I think
point it's making a lot of money, and then people are saying, "Oh, it's making a lot of money. I got to go watch this movie," and then it just repeats. And like
so
the biggest word
from
of mouth is because of its box office success. I
yeah.
haven't heard, like a lot of people just praising the movie itself.
Yeah, it's a huge deal in China. Like, man, I don't even know what to compare it to, but like this is like their shit. Like our theater was packed, and it was like a 3 p.m. showing on a Tuesday or something, and it was full of Asian people, and I thought that was so cool because I'm like, man, like they are all popping out here for this niche little movie, but I guess this is like their shit over there.
Yeah.
Um, and so again, because of its limited like screenings and whatnot, I feel like a lot of people here aren't really getting the chance to watch it. But I did check Letterbox, and there was a lot of really high praise for it. Um, and so yeah, I mean, me personally, if you're asking me personally, I do think it's just that good of a movie. I would compare it to like RRR of
Really?
2022. I think I would compare it to that. And that's
Wow.
what I told Brandon right after the movie ended. I was like, I think I can compare it to that, where it's like there's this foreign movie that flies under the radar, but like it's genuinely so deserving of like having more eyes on it
Yeah.
because it's that good of a film. Um, even action wise, it's that good. Like I
Mm.
think it's up there for me at least. It instilled that same feeling that RRR did when it came out. And so yeah, the animation is insane, dude. It's really really good, and they play around with a lot of really cool things that the with the two characters that they follow. Um, yeah, it's the shit. So if you could check it out, I'd recommend that. Okay, got that out of the way. Captain America: Brave New World. I thought it was good. You know, I thought it was good. It wasn't anything mind blowing, but it wasn't as bad as like a 50-40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's at a 49% now. I like the spy aspect of it. I told Charlie a little bit, like I just like loved seeing Sam Wilson in his regular clothes, just with the shield on a stealth mission. That right there, like that was so cool to me. Being in like the enemy of the state and him battling with like not being able to live up to Steve Rogers, and even that moment that he shared with Bucky. I mean, second time watching it, I watched it twice. My second time watching it, I appreciated that moment so much. Like it genuinely was really, really good. And so it's things like that. I'll use this other one. It's stuff like that in the movie that I'm like, okay, I can see, like, obviously it's not going to have as much heart as some of the past Captain America movies, but you can't sit here and say this is a nothing movie. It has no heart. Like, there's shit in here that is good. There's shit in here that works. And I think a lot of it is the dogpiling of recent Marvel and the dogpiling of this movie as a whole. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't one of the best movies ever. I can probably liken it to like what Black Widow was, where it's like, if this came out before, would a lot more people like it? Probably. But yeah, I mean, it's bland at times. I think the third act was not that good. For me, the first two acts were really good, and I think I'm in the minority when I like thinking that way, because the third act was really when it starts to kind of fall apart for me. I think the Red Hulk stuff on its own is decent, but like throwing Sam in there to have like a little sun's getting real low, big guy, like that whole moment at the end was so bad. I don't like I talked to Charlie a little bit. Like, I think having Red Hulk come to that moment on it, come to that realization on his own, just being in the cherry blossom sidewalk or whatever it was, would have been better. Stuff like that. I don't know. I thought the Red Hulk fight was fucking awesome. I think the action in this movie was really good. I don't really see why that was a big point of confliction for a lot of people. Again, it's just the dogpiling, I feel like. Other than that, it's straightforward. It's a little bit bland. It's nothing insane. You know, this is just a big dad movie. You know, little kids will be like, I want to see Red Hulk smash things, which is what they poorly marketed this movie as, which makes it suffer a little bit. On its own, though, if you remove those aspects of it, I think it's a fine movie. You know, I had a good time with it. I have my issues with it, but I don't think it's like one of the worst. I mean, I don't think we should start, jumping off the boat this soon because of this movie. Like, if you were to be like, all right, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, if even one of these is horrible, and look at that, it's Brave New World, it's horrible, I'm off. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, like, let's be real, we've gotten worse. And so yeah, I think I'm just at a cool 6.5 out of 10. I don't think it was anything too crazy, whether that be good or bad.
You should watch the episode that we did, because I think we talked about a lot of good topics, and also more specifically, I actually gave like a 5-ish minute pitch on how to fix this movie, basically, of like,
Okay, yeah.
take the same elements, different formula, and it is so much better.
Yeah.
And it was kind of on the fly too, but I seriously, like, thinking back on some of my ideas, like, they could have made this movie a lot better. But um I think we're all around the same score. I think I gave it a 6. Charlie was at like a 6.5.
Hey, look at us! Look at us!
But a lot of your thoughts, honestly, like, were very different than, like, I agree about the action, but like, for me, the first act was like really bad. It was such a mess. There's just so many scenes just like back and forth, and then just insert a scene of the leader with no context and no nothing. I feel like they felt their stride when they kind of started to dumb it down towards the middle act, over on Celestial Island. That's where it like got better for me. And I loved the Red Hulk stuff. Obviously that moment was still a little like, we could have approached this differently. which I talked about in my pitch, but I liked in general. I really liked Harrison Ford in the movie.
Oh
I
my
thought
god, man!
the first part to me was definitely the weakest, just because it was so scatterbrain all over the place.
So I'll just throw in my little thoughts of why I like the first act. First, I'll say Anthony Mackie can fucking command a movie on his own. I think he did great as Captain America in this. I will trust him with leading any team of the any group of the Avengers. Like I really did like Anthony Mackie a lot in here, and I want to give him his flowers because it was really impressive with what he was able to do with the role of Captain America and leading this movie. I'm not saying I didn't think he can do it, but that's such a hard thing to do, especially with such an established character in this universe as Steve Rogers as Captain America. I love that. Harrison Ford acted his ass off. I absolutely loved him in this. I love this like version of Harrison Ford we're getting lately, where he's just this goofy, he's this goofy old man that just has been acting his fucking ass off lately. I love it, and I thought he did amazing in this. The first act I liked a lot because of the Carl Lumbly. I'm saying that is his name, right? Isaiah Bradley. Carl Lumbly's his real name. The Isaiah Bradley stuff I liked a lot. I liked that the way the first couple of scenes went hand in hand. Where he's in that training facility with him, and he's like, "Why don't you come on over? Like, I get what this looks like to you. I get why you're so mad about this. Just I want to invite you to this. I want to bring you into this world to show you that." I can be Captain America here, and you don't have to worry about me in this position, despite what happened to you in the past. And then watching that all flip on its head, being like, okay, what's going on here? All hell just broke loose, and now the president is kicking Captain America out of his little squad. So now Anthony Mackie is an enemy of the state. He's getting hunted down when he's just chilling, driving around. And now he has to go on this cat and mouse chase with the leader. That's why I like the first act, because then the first two acts, because then it bleeds into everything on Celestial Island, and then we end it with like the Bucky conversation. And I really liked how all of that flowed. I get like the leader stuff is kind of just like, here I am in the darkness. Here I am again in the darkness. Like, what am I going to do next? And it's like, well, okay, now we have Sidewinder over here. Like, not to say I didn't think any of them really did bad. I didn't really hate any of their involvement in the movie. But yeah, that's why I like the first two acts. And then the third act, it was just a lot of the like, sun's getting real low, big boy. And then like we just kind of fast track to him sitting next to Falcon in the hospital, who was just comedic fodder. And I really am upset that he wasn't more of like a Black Widow type of side character. Talking about Winter Soldier. So that sucks also. Really sad about that, because it's a Mexican superhero on screen, and I got to sit here and just watch him crack jokes and not do much until the last literal minute of the fucking movie. But yeah, that's why I like the first two acts quite a bit. But I get what you're saying. I do agree with your points on that, though.
The last thing I want to say about this movie is just because the conversation kind of got dragged out a little bit this week as far as the MCU and homework. And we talked about it in the last episode, Ben and I did a little bit. But this week it came up because Hideo Kojima, the creator of the Metal Gear Solid series and Death Stranding, et cetera, he's really big in the gaming space. And I give much respect to Hideo Kojima. Do not get me wrong. And I'm not going to insult him here or anything either, but just like, I guess it's just confusing to me. Some of the, like what he said in his review, he said like, when did Falcon become Captain America, or when did Sam become Captain America? It's like, and he says in the same tweet that he watched Endgame. Okay, well, that's where it happened. Like, and then this is where the discussion of like having to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier came in. You do not have to watch that TV show at all to understand this movie whatsoever. If you want more of Sam's character and Bucky, because even though Bucky was only in it for a scene in the movie, if you want more from that, then go watch the show. Go retroactively watch the show after you've seen the movie, and you get more character buildup of like Sam's inner conflict into becoming Captain America. But I think going from Endgame, getting the shield, being told by Steve, the shield doesn't belong to anybody else; it belongs to you. And then Sam says, "I'll do my best." That's perfect. And then when we start this movie, Sam flying, landing, and holding the shield, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's no like that is all the information you need to know. And I hate because some of you guys might have seen I replied to somebody's tweet. Some guy said that I think it's dumb that the MCU like forces people to spend $15 so they can fully understand the story. $15 for the subscription price of Disney Plus is what he's talking about. They don't force you though. I would argue that so far, I don't think there's been a single show that you have to watch in order to understand what's going on. Like maybe WandaVision going into Multiverse of Madness, maybe. But even then, I've heard the argument, and I don't even entirely disagree with this argument, that she kind of is just on the same arc that she was on in WandaVision throughout Multiverse of Madness, where like she's diving deep into, I need to have this family, I need to have these kids, and by the end of WandaVision, she's using the Darkhold and she's evil, and then it's just the same old with Doctor Strange, and they explain how she got the Darkhold in Doctor Strange and everything. But anyway, those are different projects. But I don't know. I feel so weird coming to the MCU's defense after we've had so many discussions about the future of the MCU and what they seem to be doing wrong, and all of that still holds up to me. Do not get me wrong, but I just the coming at the MCU from these standpoints that these people are, it makes zero sense to me, and it just, I don't know. It seems like such a low blow that, in the grand scheme of things, makes their point invalid when if they think about it for more than 2 seconds. I don't know.
What about like how would you factor in Isaiah Bradley into that with his involvement in this movie?
I mean, this is probably the delivery of in Brave New World, where Joaquin's like, "Oh, Isaiah Bradley, you're a legend, the original Captain America." Like it's a pretty heavy exposition dump right there, and then as well as like it cuts to Isaiah Bradley back to him. He's like, "Yeah," and then the government imprisoned me for 40 years, and yada yada yada. Sure, you'd probably question how Sam knows this guy, but I mean, the original Captain America is a line that Joaquin says, right? So like you would think like, oh, maybe Sam went to this guy to talk to him about being Captain America. I don't know. Like I can see the lines being connected in somebody else's mind with the exposition that is given. Now, sure, there probably could be some more explanation. They could go deeper into it, and which is also a problem that I had with the movie, is that they didn't go deeper into character development with Sam and Joaquin or anything like that. And so I'll give that for sure. But even with Isaiah Bradley, I think that they did a decent job, a more than decent job, with understanding why he's here, why he knows Sam, and what his role is with Sam in this. I don't know. I was gonna say Newfound World, but I could have just said Brave New World. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think that the Isaiah Bradley stuff is, without the TV show. I don't think that that's a problem either. Myself, I don't know. But that's enough.
I did have to explain that who he was to a couple of friends that were there because they didn't watch. They're just like casual fans. I did have to explain who he was. They were like, "Oh, okay, that makes more sense." And so I was like, "All right, I can see a bit of a issue there," but I digress.
I mean, I guess, but just because he also doesn't play that big of a role in the movie itself, though. Also, like if he had a bigger role of like, I don't know, if he was actually using his super soldier strength to, I don't know, help Sam fight Hulk or something, but he gets locked away in the first act of the movie, and the entire time, other than a couple scenes where we go visit him in the prison. Like I would argue, like obviously what Sam is fighting for in the movie is a lot of what has to do with Isaiah Bradley, but Isaiah Bradley's presence isn't really like a huge factor throughout the movie, at least with how it's currently written. Now, whether you think it should have been more or less, that's whatever. But just with how it is now, I don't think that it matters that much. Like people can be confused about his character, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are my thoughts.
With that, I want to go into, before we talk about the big episodes from last week, Severance, and then last week Invincible, and this week Invincible. I believe we have to talk about both of those. Let's cover a little bit of news. First and foremost, we already talked about Daredevil. The first reactions, they're really good to episodes 1 and 2. There was a premiere that a lot of content creators got to go to over in New York. And pretty much everybody, not even pretty much, I haven't seen a single bad reaction to the first 2 episodes of the show.
God, bro.
Apparently it starts with a bang, and it doesn't stop going into episode 2. And obviously they're praising the performances of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio and the way they play off of each other. And what hurts me the most, and this is potential spoiler territory, I don't know, none of us know for sure, but I've been theorizing. I texted my dad because him and I watched the Daredevil show originally together way back in 2016 or 2015 when it first aired. And I texted him. When did I text him? It was like 2 weeks ago. I said, I think they're gonna kill Foggy, man. I'm thinking they're gonna kill Foggy. And then as we keep like getting closer and closer to this damn show, and you keep hearing stupid fucking little anecdotes from the writers on the show, the directors on the show, the actors. Charlie Cox himself said that like we had to be different. We had to start this show off with a bang, and I still don't know if it's the right decision. Oh my God, bro. They're going to kill my boy Foggy, and I'm going to be fucking pissed, bro. I'm going to be so fucking mad. Oh my God. But I mean,
who do you think will kill him if he dies? Muse, Kingpin, or probably not Kingpin, but Muse or Bullseye?
I mean,
or White Tiger.
From everything
Frank
I'm seeing,
Castle, baby.
From everything I'm seeing, I think that the first episode opens with an action sequence between Daredevil and Bullseye, and I think Bullseye is the one that does it.
Well, that scene of him beating his ass, I'm like, yeah, he's putting his hands on that man, bro. Like, yeah, there's emotion behind those punches.
Yeah. So again, I'm sorry if I spoil that for you, for anybody listening to this. I'm not like, I don't know though. Like that's not insider information. That's just a very
Yes, it is. He went to the premiere. Bro. Don't let him lie to you.
I wish, bro. I wish. I want to go to New York. Aiden's been there. Lucky bitch. Have you been there, Ben? Have you been to New York? No. Okay. But yeah, you guys have any thoughts on the first reactions to Daredevil?
Benjamin, it's your list, man.
I'm just giddy about it. Like I've said many times that like if Marvel messes up Captain America: Brave New World, we're expecting them to in some regard, or like we're not expecting them to be fully back with something like that. And it wouldn't be a surprise for a movie like that to be mid, which is, kind of what it turned out to be. But Daredevil, I've said it so many times just how much is riding on this show, and that if Daredevil was not what it needs to be for the fans of the original show, that like I think at that point, like I know some people are already on the train of like Marvel can't come back from this, but I would truly be like, it's over. Like if you can't land Daredevil when you have 3 seasons of reference and like you just need to put in the effort and not be stupid, like I'm sorry, but that would be too far in my opinion. I'd be too pissed at them. So I'm very happy with even some of the specific things. Like obviously people are still being very general, but hearing the overwhelming praise of saying, if you love Daredevil, you will be so happy with this. That's all I need. That's everything that I need. So I'm just so happy that, like, amongst rewrites, reshoots, whatever, they eventually found their footing and landed on something that the fans are going to be happy with.
I just I hope that those first 2 episodes carry on the rest of the season. I'm really excited, man. It's one thing to anticipate. It's one thing to theorize if it'll be anything close to the Netflix stuff and, you know, the MCU of it all, like whatever. It's one thing to theorize and think about those things. It's another thing to hear that it really is that good, at least the first 2 episodes. And so I'm so excited, man. It can't come any quicker.
Yeah. In the vein of what Benjamin was talking about, I wanted to say I can't remember. I saw this on Twitter as well. I can't remember whose sentiment it was. I think it was Ebba's. I Super Ebba. That hopefully Brave New World was like the last of like the Marvel projects, the MCU projects that was like too far along to really like completely rework. And Thunderbolts Forward, or actually Daredevil Forward, is like they're taking time to make sure that the quality is right. I mean, they completely reworked this show because it was not working previously. And so hopefully going into like Thunderbolts after Daredevil and whatnot, which apparently right now, I mean, this is just Scooper's opinions though, and so we can't really fully trust these. But Thunderbolts is sounding pretty good, you know, and hopefully Fantastic Four is good. I need Fantastic Four to be good. I've said this 100 times, but like if it's not good, that's a huge fucking problem. That's a huge fucking problem. And obviously, if Doomsday is bad, that's a huge fucking problem as well. And Doomsday, I will say, as I'm saying everything about like the quality being better, everything we're hearing about Doomsday does not sound great so far. They already have to push off the filming date because the script is not done yet. Huge problem, big problem,
and it comes out in a year.
I don't think there's no fucking way it comes out May 2026. There's no way.
You think it's getting pushed?
I don't know.
Think if it does, it'll be bad. Like
I see. I don't know. I don't know, dude. I can't really envision this movie being great right now at this point in time. I don't know. It's tough, man. It's really tough with the state that we're in. And like I said, like you're saying, I hope that this is the beginning of something new from here on out. And I want to be wrong, but yeah.
And I also want to say, like, I feel so dumb, and I just feel like I'm like, I don't know, putting the egg on my face every time I say that, like, that's going to be really fucking bad if Fantastic Four is bad. It's going to be really fucking bad if Doomsday's bad. But then, like, next year when Spider-Man 4 comes out, of course I'm going to be there. Especially with everything I'm hearing right now about Spider-Man 4, I'm going to be there. Even if Fantastic Four is bad, even if Doomsday's bad, I'm going to be there for Spider-Man 4. Destin Daniel Cretton. Oh my God. I saw a couple scenes from Shang-Chi again, bro. And I was like, oh my God. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what he cooks up with Spider-Man 4. And everything we're hearing, new supporting cast. He's going to have, actually, this is for Doomsday. He's going to have the mask on most of the time, apparently, because he's going to be filming The Odyssey. Tom Holland. But just, oh my God, man. Everything I'm hearing about Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man, the character in the MCU going forward, sounds great to me. So, but anyway, that is our Daredevil news. But Daredevil adjacent, we got some lovely Punisher news this week. Punisher is apparently getting a special, I think they just described it as just a special on discussing film, but we can imagine special presentation, just like I think the last special presentation we got was either Werewolf by Night or was it Guardians Holiday?
Guardians.
Holiday
yeah,
special?
Guardians. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember.
That's been quite a while, actually, then.
It's
So
been like a year and a half or something. I don't think we
yes.
got one last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit of a bummer, I guess, just because, like, of course, we would want a Punisher movie. But I guess it's probably um, in Disney's best interest. They don't want to do too many of the R-rated stuff, I'm sure, within the MCU as far as movie stuff goes. I think they want to relegate that to probably just like Deadpool, the big the big hitters, as they would probably describe them. But you know, the fact that we're getting anything Punisher involved, honestly, I think I would even rather prefer a show, getting his show back rather than a special
Yeah.
presentation. But I am still grateful we're getting this. And of course, I love John Bernthal. I think that he is up there with, like, you cannot replace this actor as this character. Like, he is one of them ones. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. Apparently, he's also helping write this special presentation too, John Bernthal. So I don't know his writing chops, but we'll see. I hope he understands the character. I'm sure he does by now.
I think that's more of
doing
the
so
reason
long.
why he would have his hand in it,
Yeah.
is just because if he's really like passionate and loves the character, just so that he can kind of like I've seen it time and again where an actor steps into a role that they're really passionate about, and they point something out about the character to like the writers or directors that the writers and directors didn't even think about, that they then put into a project,
Yeah.
just because the actor understands the character on a deeper level. So hopefully that's what is the case here.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. Aiden?
I can't wait. I
It's
cinema.
cinema.
No, man, I'm so happy he's in Daredevil Born Again. I'm so happy that he's back in this role. And you know, a show or a movie would be great, but I mean, like Charlie said, I mean, the fact that we're getting anything Punisher and that it's going to be a special presentation, I mean, that's awesome. I will never complain about some more Punisher, especially in the MCU, and seeing their little spin on it. If Daredevil's good, I trust that they can handle Punisher, especially with John Bernthal having his hands in it. Yeah, man, I'm super excited, and I hope that they keep exploring the special presentation idea a little bit more. But I think Marvel has a lot of highs that they can capitalize on, and I say that after just finishing Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and X-Men '97. I have more faith, and I'm not going to be as like dismissive of projects such as Eyes of Wakanda or Marvel Zombies. You know, like I'm going to be a lot more open to those things, and especially with the Daredevil news and like bringing another character over from the Netflix universe and giving them their own project under the hood of the MCU. You know, if you make it work with Daredevil, I'm sure Punisher will be great. And I like to have that feeling of I can trust Marvel with this, or I'm more open to trusting Marvel with this. Whereas I'm not gonna lie, I kind of pushed off Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man because I was just like, everything I see about this, I'm just not caring, just because of their track record and because of things that were coming out that I was just selfishly ignoring. And then it comes out, and it's one of my favorite things that they've done, and I have a great time with it throughout the entire show or throughout the entire season. So yeah, I like to be a lot more open when it comes to like Punisher news and X-Men '97 coming next year. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is going to be yearly. Things like that. I'm happy that I'm able to hear that and not push it off like I would have in the past. It shows that something is working, that they're doing something right. So I'm all for this. I think it's good shit.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. We'll see. Hopefully, we get some more details on like when it's trying to come out. Also, I do think actually it's going to be kind of weird because you expect it to come out with like within the next like 2 years or so, right? And so,
Well, maybe it's like post Daredevil season 2 or something.
yeah, and I guess just I don't know. That's probably where it'll be set, but just having it come out like after like in between Doomsday and Secret Wars might seem like weird timing. I
It
guess.
is odd, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna run into a weird dynamic with that, anyways. Of like, they're
Spider-Man
releasing like
4 or
4 or
whatnot,
5
yeah.
shows this year. When we get to that like Doomsday Secret Wars section of things, like, are they just gonna still be throwing out Wonder Man or Ironheart, just like random shows that really don't have much to do with the grander picture? Who knows?
Well, that's the thing, because like, what other live action shows do we know that they're doing other than Daredevil after
I think it's just
this year?
Ironheart and
Ironheart,
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man. What about like the
Vision Quest.
Vision?
Oh, Vision
Yeah.
Quest. That's the other live
Wasn't
action one.
was Armor Wars canceled? I thought that turned into a show.
It got canceled. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. I think
it
they
got
had turned. I think they were trying to turn it into a movie.
Yeah, it got turned into a movie. That's what it was.
And
But
then that
so
was.
far,
I think that
it's
was like the last we heard, or that it was indefinitely put on hold. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be on hold, like the Nova stuff. Nova's put on hold and whatnot.
But
So,
in terms of like confirm, yeah, those three.
I think
There's
it's just
there's like the Nova Vision.
well, Nova got put on hold, but that was confirmed in an interview with the head of Marvel TV with this Daredevil stuff. Somebody asked him that. But the Vision, I think the Vision Quest thing, because every other live action show comes out this year, like Wonder Man, Ironheart, all of that comes out this year,
Yeah.
and then Daredevil season 2 will be next year, and then so Vision Quest is the only other live action show that we know of 100% right now. But I guess just getting like an idea of like what they're planning on putting out in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, just TV show wise, because like obviously the movies will be confusing as well. We've already talked about Spider-Man 4 and how that'll probably be weird, and we imagine it's going to have to be set before Doomsday, if they keep with the street level idea anyway. Please God, do that. But anyway, now shifting over from Marvel to DC, we got tons of DC news over this last week, and we don't need to spend too much time on it. I know I say tons. Really, it's just updates on different projects that we know are coming. No new projects were announced, I don't believe. But let me find. I want to make sure I get the slate right. It was announced that they want to have the number of projects that they want to release every single year, or what their goal is to release every year. And I believe it was something like we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. It was something wild. Like it's reading it aloud sounded wild to me. And it makes me wonder, like the problem people are having with the with the MCU is in their output. I mean, actually not had, because like we just talked about how they're dropping so many TV projects this year alone. But looking at their plan for like multiple movies, and multiple live action shows, multiple animated shows, it seems like I wonder if the energy is going to be kept for that kind of thing as well, or maybe because it's something new and we're starting a whole new universe or whatever, that maybe people will be a little bit more lenient with it as far as like
Was
attacking it.
with that number, did they basically say like this is what we want to try to release consistently on a yearly basis?
Yeah, here I found it here. DC has set a goal to release 7 projects a year: 2 live action films, 1 animated film, 2 live action shows, and 2 animated shows. There is a plan set for the next 6 years. And also, to add on to that news, actually, I did see this, and let me find it again right now. But they are planning on, over the next 6 years, at the end of the 6 years, there will be like a sort of Avengers Endgame style event that it builds up to over that time, which because didn't we talk about how it's going to be more like Star Wars? They described it how it's going to be like separate
Yeah,
stories.
that's kind of why it's confusing, because I always thought that the way that they were approaching it is we don't move forward with things until we have a script and a story and whatnot planned out.
Mhm.
So to hear that like they have a number that they're trying to hit, that show to me raises a bit of concern of like, are they actually going to go on a we have to have a fully fleshed out script to move forward with something? Because if you just don't get the right script, then you can't necessarily hit that goal, especially if you're wanting to split it up so much between like shows and movies and animated and whatnot. Like it's so hard to shoehorn yourself into just a box like that. I feel like that's going to come back to bite them if they really try to stick with it.
I agree. I guess there's a couple projects that were announced. I'll just talk about them real quick. I don't think we have any real thoughts.
The
An
Teen
animated
Titans one looked good.
Teen Titan show or movie?
Yeah. They announced
Movie?
a movie. I
The
think Teen
movie,
Titans
yeah,
movie, which
live action
looks
Teen Titans movie, which we knew about that, but I think they just confirmed it. There were because there were rumors that they were working on that movie, and I mean I'm down for that 100%. Like I loved the Teen Titans animated show when I was a kid. But all the projects that they announced, I guess, are just animated stuff. There's a show called Superpowers, which is a series following students Lightning, Flash, Plastic Man, Aqua Girl, Green Lantern, and Terra learning at a school headed by Principal Martian Manhunter. Yippee. Um, an animated Green Lantern show, which is called My Adventures with Green Lantern, which probably it sounds like it's going to be in the ilk of My Adventures with Superman. Um, cool. It does. It looks like I do think it's actually somewhat cool. It's following a different Green Lantern. Her name's Jessica Cruz. I don't know about that Green Lantern, so um, interesting to see. Interested to see how that'll turn out with her. I doubt I'll really watch the show. I don't watch the My Adventures with Superman show, but we'll see. And a Starfire animated show.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
I
cool.
didn't see that
I don't know if I
Starfire
care.
news.
Yeah. The logo's kind of cool. I can throw it up here. I don't know. I've never the character of Starfire has never been like a crazy cool for me, but I
Oh.
mean, yeah,
I
I'm
liked her
intrigued.
in what was that game called? Holy crap!
Injustice.
I liked her in Injustice. I was a Starfire main in Injustice.
Damn, look at this boy. This logo kind of gives me the like. Sorry for audio listeners. But this logo kind of gives me like I don't know if you guys have seen anything about like the Harley Quinn show on HBO.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is kind of is of that ilk to me.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, we'll see what happens with it, but I mean, ultimately, whatever.
Yeah.
Little other bits of news from the DC stuff. This is just quick rapid fire stuff. Apparently, there's some problems with development of a couple of things. The live action Waller TV show. They still haven't cracked any of the scripts for that show yet. The Booster Gold project. I don't remember if that's a showrunner, so it was a show. Booster Gold show. Showrunner almost joined, but then lost interest. The Authority movie. The script has had a harder time coming along. So yeah.
All right.
DC. I mean, I hate to say give what's his name? The guy who played Green Arrow in the Arrowverse. I hate to give him too much credit, but I saw a clip, and I think it was an older clip of him at like some Comic-Con stage thing. He's like, I'm seeing all these announcements of the new DCU stuff, but like, where's all the content? Like, I want to see the content. Like, okay, all these announcements. And like, initially I'm like, shut up, bro, just shut up. But like, I don't know. Obviously, I know that we're waiting for Superman. We're waiting for all this stuff. And Creature Commandos was good. We've talked about that. We covered that on here. But like, did we really need to come out and say this stuff about, other than the announcements of the new series, did we really need to come out and say like, oh, I love the transparency, I guess, but like, do I care that Waller's having trouble getting scripts? Booster Gold showrunner was interested, and then he lost interest. Like, come on, bro. Do I care about that stuff? Not really. Like,
Yeah.
just let me know if the show's still going to happen or not. That's all. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I do care about the slate. It is a little bit interesting to me as to like what Ben mentioned. Like, you guys say you have like this idea of wanting to make sure that stuff only gets greenlit when the scripts are written for them, but then you're pigeonholing yourself into we got to have 2 live action movies a year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Seems a little strange, but whatever. Still excited. DC, I hope Superman's great. It looks great. And I hope it's a great, great launching point.
Yeah.
But that's it for all our tiny, tiny stuff, even though we stretched it out quite a while. I want to jump in a little bit of Severance first before Invincible, because I feel like we rarely talk about Severance lately on the pod. So last week's episode, Severance season 2, episode 6. I want to get some thoughts on that. Benji, we haven't heard you talk about Severance at all, man. We haven't heard you talk about Severance at all on the pod.
I've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, whatever.
Not that much though. I wish I was caught up so that we could just talk about the new episode. But I was a really big fan of the episode. It definitely feels kind of like one of the calm before the storm type of episodes. So like on an individual basis, it very much feels like slow progression and build up. But then by the end, it feels like we're going to be ramping up into something in the next couple of episodes. They nail the pacing, I think, of this show. Like they know how to keep your attention and progress the story in a way that just makes sense, that keeps you hooked in the entire time, while also, you always want more. So I would say that I don't want to, like, filler is a bad word to use for this show because none of it feels like filler. But it does feel like, this is the episode that we need to then launch us into what's happening in the coming weeks. Which you guys can speak more to that because you've actually seen the new episode. But that's what it felt like. Is like, yes, I'm there. I love it. I want to see what happens next. But it's not getting to any of those like crazy mind-blowing things like I assume it's going to as time goes on. So a great episode, I would say, but like clearly like still getting to the amazing episodes towards the end of the season. So that's just like my most general thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about, like, in that context, does the new episode, kind of take that launch point and take advantage of it and really go deep as we continue to get closer to the end of the season? Because that's my hope with how they left things off specifically, is like, okay, like, let's get to it.
Yeah. I think it's a little hard with this show because I feel like it bounces between so many different things because we have so many different questions about so many different aspects of it. And it's so rich with with its characters and its subjects and whatnot, that like it can focus on one of those main subjects that we have questions about, and to have it still feel satisfying.
Sure,
so like,
yeah.
I would say, to answer that, I would say yes, but in a different subject.
I assume it's kind of like the end of season 1 to then the first episode of season 2, where it's like it leaves you on a huge cliffhanger, and then season 2 is like, we're gonna spend the entire first episode with just Mark's that kind of thing, where it's like you're going, or even like the Ortbo or whatever it was called, you're going a completely different direction that's still going to like lead to something, and it still adds something to the show, but it's not like it's not like there's an exact thread through each episode that's following a specific storyline. That's what I assume you mean by it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it. And but I will say, in terms of like last episode is left off, I don't think that they completely leave you, I don't know, still wondering, or still like, they don't leave you dissatisfied, I would say. In terms of that.
And just to hype it up for you a little bit more, I do think it's one of the more impressive episodes of television I think I've ever seen.
Dude, I couldn't agree more, actually.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
It is, and I talked about it before we started recording, but
in terms of like a filmmaking, perspective.
The cinematographer for the show, this is her directorial debut, and I've seen people say it might be one of the best directorial debuts in modern TV history. I can't really speak to that. I don't watch a ton of TV, but I will say it is some of the stuff that they pull off it's pretty insane. But yeah, I would agree with what Charlie said. They have a cool way of like kind of branching out and exploring all these different things that you really didn't know you needed at the time, but then you get to the end of the episode and you're like, man, that was really good. Which is like some of what episode oh my god, I lose episode counts. Some of what episode 6 was with, and I saw someone talk about this on Twitter, like a lot of shows will like that deal with like a subject or whatever the show is revolving. You have like different things you can explore outside of that, how characters interact, what would happen if this like what would happen if these two characters met, in terms of everything that's happening in our main storyline. And for this, it's being severed and exploring the possibility of Dylan and his wife, and his wife possibly falling for his innie because his outie is not the best father or husband. You have things like Mark and Helly, and then Mark and Helena, and you get to play around with all of those different character relationships and things that could happen. And I love that this show isn't scared to hone in on that for long periods of time. And so I think that is it's really cool. It's just cool to show you that, it's just cool to see how everything that we've had up until now is able to allow them to focus on things like that, or focus on characters that you really wouldn't know that you needed to focus on until you got that episode and you're like, wow, that's such an interesting thing to play around with. And of course it just gives you even more to chew on as that goes on. And so yeah, a lot of really cool things like that. One of my favorite little Easter eggs that someone caught was Miss Casey in season 1 is giving Mark his facts about his outie, and one of the things she says is, your outie likes 2 scoops of ice cream if they're the same flavor, kind of hinting at Helly and Helena being the same person, 2 scoops. And I was about to jump into something that happened in this episode, but things like that, that she gives. He can pitch a perfect tent in 3 minutes, and they end up having sex in a tent. It's just cool things like that. This show always gives you a lot to digest and theorize on, and so I think that's really cool.
Listen, I don't know if Mark just eventually gave in and was convinced that she was no longer her outie, or if he was just horny. I have no clue. I would probably never trust her ever again. Like, I thought that's what it was going to be like. Just like cut it off. Like, there's no, like, the fact that she still came back down after we didn't even know that she was her outie, whatever. How do you know? Actually, how do you know? And it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Valid crash out from Mark. Like, Brandon had some of his friends over tonight, so we had like a kind of like a mini little Severance watch party. And
great for Severance.
Yeah, one of the things he said was like, I don't know if I really like Mark all that much this season. And Brandon was like, well, I mean, he has been through a lot, and he basically got R-worded by Helena because he was under the impression that she was someone else. And so whenever she comes back down, the typical thing to do would be to have Mark be like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy you're back. Like I miss you." But this dude is just like, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't want to talk about anything with y'all. I just want to work. Just let me work and go home. There's no reason to uh, linger on this any longer than we already have. But then you have characters like Dylan, who's like, uh, what did he say? What did he say in the when they're all in the room and he's like, oh, did you tell her that your wife's Miss Casey? And Mark's like, no, I didn't tell her that my wife's Miss Casey. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And Dylan's like, bitch, I thought we were like a family in here. Like, I thought we were all in together. But then Mark's like, we just had someone who we thought was a family just play spy with us. Like, what? And now we lost Irving, like he's gone. Oh, well, let's just get back to work. I don't know, the things that I love when shows, and it's the Last of Us thing. I love whenever they really humanize their characters and make them do things where you're like, whoa, that's odd, but you're like, shit, I kind of understand, I kind of get it, like it makes sense. And so yeah, I love what this show's been able to do, and I think season 6 was a really good one.
Season 6
to talk about. Episode 6. Oh my
Dang.
gosh.
I'm behind
Episode
totally.
6. So dumb. I think episode 6 was a really good one in that case, where you can focus on all of these characters and different character interactions, such as the whole Bert and Irving of it all, which
that's where I was gonna go.
I want to talk about. Yeah.
Aiden, did you hear about the connections that I have to some of the cast members of this show?
Yeah.
You did?
You told me
Okay.
about Britt Lauer and Dylan G. Oh, well, Zach.
Yeah.
Jerry?
So
Dylan G.
I actually it was looked into further by some family members just because they were actually curious. So technically, Dylan G is my second cousin. Technically.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Dude, get us an invite to the freaking season 3 premiere.
Yeah. What the hell? Actually, what are you doing, bro?
What are you talking about?
You're wasting. You're wasting your connection, bro. Yeah,
come on, second cuz. You don't remember me?
Right, and then he can get us into MCU stuff too, bro. Because he was in Homecoming, and he was in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man,
and Shang-Chi,
and Shang-Chi.
He's gonna be in Spider-Man 4.
There we go. That's our in. Get him on the podcast.
I wanted to talk about the Burton Irving stuff because I wanted to get your guys' take, or your read actually, on that entire situation, because like I personally kind of took it as like I forget the husband's name, Bert's husband's name, but the way that he says that Bert started working with Lumen 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then Bert's like, or Irving gives Bert the out of like, well, didn't the Severance was only created 12 years ago? Do we think maybe Bert has been working with Lumen for a lot longer and he's hiding it? And maybe, because you think about this, what's that guy's name? Drummond? How did he know that Irving wasn't home? And how did he know that Irving wasn't home and he was at Bert's house and he was going to be able to walk into Irving's house and start looking through his stuff? Just a thought experiment.
I mean, I would agree with that Severance has been around for longer. I think like inherently that's not like a crazy thing to think. So it would more so be, why is the reason that they're trying to, almost cover that up? Like what happened for them to want to shorten that time frame? Why can't it just have been around for 20 years or 30 years or whatever? So that would be the bigger thing, is the why of why hide it? But I definitely think that's true. I still think there's a lot of questions with Irving's character just because, like, he kept a list of employees and had locations of people, and then obviously his connection to, did they call it like the delivery hallway or whatever it is, the hallway that leads to the elevator that goes down, where they take shipments and whatnot. Um, so I think there's a lot of questions with him, um, which is interesting because, like, now now it's a different dynamic because, at least where I'm at, they've taken him out of the severed floor and now just put him, he's fully on the outside. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how that actually, like, pans out and how they utilize that. Um, just like creates a different dynamic with what he could offer to other severed employees, or maybe even what he will learn through Bert. But that also depends on, if Bert even knows what happened 20 years ago at Lumen, or wants to share that, whatever. It'll be interesting to see how that develops and changes. I feel like he's like he's the biggest wild card in my opinion. Like, Dylan's big dynamic and draw to his character is what they're setting up with his relationship to his wife. I think they've done a great job of that, with, like, setting up that really, the conflict in her of, she's starting to fall in love with the innie version of him. Um, and then obviously we know a lot about Mark, and then Helly kind of pairs alongside that. So to me, Irving is the biggest wild card of our main group of four, where it's like he has some really weird connections to Lumen and weird knowledge of things that's like, how does he know this? Why is he addicted to painting a hallway that we still don't know the answers to? I think he's like a big mystery that will be interesting to see how that unfolds just as we continue to learn more, which clearly, if this season has told us anything, this show could go on for a long time, and they could just continue to just barely explain anything while also confusing us more, and we'd still sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
So and they've struck a good balance of that. Obviously, that's why we're all hooked. So I just look forward to just things becoming more clear, and more confusing at the same time, just because they know what they're doing. It's great.
Yeah, I definitely think something's up with Bert, which sucks. I think he is a spy. Either that or he is more connected to Lumen than we think. I also do believe that is maybe the only way that Drummond knew Irving wouldn't be home, is because Bert out of nowhere was just like, why don't you come over for dinner, even though all I know about you is that you followed me home and that we maybe work together.
Yeah.
I think a lot of there was a lot of weird vibes of that dinner scene. I think, again, just goes back to things that they're able to play around with in terms of the subject of their show. How the church told them, well, if you sever, there's a chance that your innie could go to heaven. Like, it ups your chances of going to heaven. Like, that is so scary to hear, especially with the theory that, like, Lumen is always watching and Lumen is everywhere. And, like, I mean, we've seen stuff like that this season. We've also seen hints of, like, Lumen products or Lumen tech being around the Audi versions of people. And, it's just like, oh, yeah, this is just like a great value, whatever. Cool. It's a great value brand. But, like, in reality, it's like Lumen is always there and have their hands in everything around all of y'all's lives. It just further adds to that, like, looming shadow behind all of our characters. And that is really unsettling. But yeah, I definitely think something's going on there, especially with the slip up of him saying that he's worked there for 20 years. I don't know. Something is going on with Bert, and it's creepy. But I saw someone say that Irving kind of inviting himself back and kind of subjected himself to hanging out with them or just Bert again, that he's smarter than that, and that he is doing it because he knows he could probably get some more out of it. Because I mean, he's a smart man. I think Irving is the key to what unfolds for the rest of the season. I think he will be a pretty big character just because of like the teases they've shown with the elevator, how much he's looked into Lumen before he even got severed, and started working there. And dude's a Navy, retired Navy. Like, come on, man. Like his dog's name is Radar. You're telling me this man cannot sniff something out a mile away? Also, me and Charlie talked about it. I forgot when we talked about it, but like, oh, maybe it was whenever Ben couldn't make it to the back half of the episode. Irving's phone calls and the constant phone calls that he makes at that telephone booth, because he did it in season 1, I think, earlier this season, whenever they got fired, and he said, "Hey, I think my innie got the message," which I talked about. Like, at face value, it could just be, "Hey, I think my innie got the message. Like, I need a job. I want to come back to work." But why would he say, "I think my innie got the message"? Like, why would he say, what message were they trying to show his innie? Like, he just got fired and he's not working. But even if you want to say that's just face value, even the conversation that he has at the phone booth in this episode, which I don't remember it word for word, but or maybe it was 2 episodes ago. Yeah. When 2 episodes ago, Trojan's horse. Still, his phone calls with them, with whoever it is on the other side of the line, is the main reason why I think he'll be such a big player in the end of this season, at least.
Yeah.
While y'all talk, I'll rewatch his phone call and see what he said.
Something I wanted to briefly bring up, just because Aiden said it, was just how Lumen has a hand in everything. Something I didn't even notice is it's because I was watching actually a reaction back towards the end of season 1, but Mark has, like, I think it's Mark who has some mail. It might have been Irving, but it has like a zip code that's not a real life zip code, and then a state abbreviation that's not real. It's NE, which or no, PE, I think it is. I don't remember. It's something that doesn't exist. It's not like a real state. And also the town that they live in is like something connected with Kier, basically. Which is interesting, like, to think about in the context of the show, is just how like limited our spatial awarenesses of the world that we live in. Like, we see so little location wise when it comes to this show. They really don't branch out from like the inside of the office building, the outside, and a couple of homes and a restaurant. Like, it feels so limited that I almost feel like there's more to it in the grander scheme of like how much Kier or Lumen has control of just like life. And it might not be limited to just this specific severed floor, but you're starting, like, even just the pregnant lady and stuff like that. Like, there's hints of it happening, and it's more widespread than we may realize.
Yeah, I always like the theory that that maybe Lumen has kind of orchestrated everybody's reason, maybe not everybody's, but for sure, like the big theory is Mark and Gemma, that maybe Lumen caused the car accident as a way to get Gemma into Lumen and then get Mark severed to come into working for them. And that doesn't just go for him, that goes for like other people, how Lumen is kind of just this entity that has always been around and kind of has its own predetermined fate for you. I've always liked that theory of just how carefully orchestrated they all are. Also, the conversation with Irving. He said, "Hey, it's me again. So they fired me." And then he says, "I think they knew what my innie was up to. I'm telling you to," and then it cuts off. I think they know what my innie was up to. So that's not, I think my innie was doing something bad. It's, I think they know what he was up to. I don't know. Those conversations, like, that is the biggest thing I'm hung up on when it comes to Irving and like the rest of the season. And yeah, I'm just waiting for Mark to get fully reintegrated so he can just like head over to Irving's house and be like, all right, let's just sit down and like talk for 5 hours and get everything out. But yeah, another thing is, me and Charlie talked about this a little bit, and it pertains to this episode, or Trojan's Horse. Sorry, it pertains to Trojan's Horse, because Ben, I don't think we got to talk about that one either. Milchek and Natalie and their conversation, where he's kind of trying to get her to peel the layers back, but she just won't budge. But the facial acting is there to show like, hey, I get it, but like,
shut up.
Shut up. There's nothing we can do. Move on. Because my biggest thing, the thing I'm waiting for the most this season, if not this season, the next season, I need a Mr. Milchek redemption arc. I need this man to do something that is the opposite of what he's been doing all fucking show long, which is just playing the role of the bad guy because he needs to save his ass and cover the severed floor. And I don't know. I'm just waiting for this man's redemption arc, because a lot of questionable things he does where I'm just like, just don't do that, man. Like, come on, what are you doing? And so, yeah. But anyways, yes. Out of Irving and Milchek, those are my thoughts on that. Yeah.
Yeah, really great episode last week. And this week's is even better. But, you know, Benjamin will have to find that out himself whenever he gets around to watching that. And you guys will hear our thoughts on that next week. But now, we're going to talk about last week's episode of Invincible. Invincible Season 3, Episode 5, which I don't know the name of it, but some would call a filler episode. And I'm probably one of the people who would agree with such an assessment. But I'm also like, I don't know. I think it was good for relationship focusing between the characters and I don't know, motives in terms of like their overall morality, I should say, for like Oliver, let's say, and then Mark and Eve. I think this was good for them and realizing what they do now after Cecil kind of thing. So it was a more slowed down episode rather than entirely filler, I would say. But I mean, yes, it did not move the main plot forward very much. So I guess it does technically count as filler. But I still enjoyed the episode myself. I think that it tackled a lot of cool things that I was wanting to see a follow-up on. Since season 1, I mean, it's actually kind of crazy that it's been so long since we've seen like Titan and what he's been doing. It didn't even like really occur to me that it had been that long. But seeing what he's done with his neighborhood and yada yada yada, and how it's just it's better now under his guidance and rule or whatever, rather than Machine Head. It was cool to see Machine Head again as well. I know where your family lives. Like
that was really good.
There you go.
I was excited to see him back, and the giant dragon. Did we know that came from the old guy back in season 1?
I feel like, because when I watched it, I felt like that was just common knowledge. Like that was just something instilled in me deep in my subconscious.
I kind of feel like I knew that too, but then
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and to be honest, I rewatched season 2 in prep for season 3. I did not rewatch season 1, so like there's still things, like, I hate to admit this, but like everything with Rudy and like the robot. I'm like, don't remember much from this arc, but
really?
I'm just gonna go along with it and pretend like I do. But I'll get around to that whenever. So yeah, I felt like that was just instilled in me somehow.
I mean, it's a small detail that, like, I mean, maybe actually not so small with how the episode ends, and like the promise for more, but cool. It's a cool. I've never seen that sort of ability before, and the need to like protect the body after he's in that dragon mode is kind of cool as well. So
Yeah, it was like
yeah,
Punisher with his turret.
this guy, bro, he's got Marvel Rivals on the brain, man.
Protect the body, man.
I also like seeing multi-paul. I love seeing duplicating powers whenever possible, especially because like seeing them used in maybe a different way than Kate ever would. Like that was actually wild watching him smash, making so many of them so they're all smushed in that one little room until they have to just burst out of the door. Crazy cool idea. And I also, for the power dampening collar, that's a weird one for me, how he's able to just break out of that. Like the whole point, I mean, we don't know how these collars work, I guess, but just in my mind, everything that I've seen with power dampening things, you just can't use your powers at all. But it seems like he can use his powers, but it's just restricting it or something. But he's able to overcome the restriction by just duplicating a bunch until it cracks and breaks, which, like, I don't know.
Well, and
It doesn't matter.
also, it's like, why wasn't that thing on him in his prison cell?
Yeah, already.
That was
Yeah.
my big thing. I was like, you're like, of course he's gonna break out. Like any of these people with the right powers will break out if you don't have that on them. Like,
Makes me wonder why it took him until episode 5 to even
That's
try
what
to do
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Well, I thought like they were gonna, like, with their food, they were gonna get like a note, and that's why they were all like smiling about it. Because I'm like, oh, okay, they know they have their sign to break out, and then just nothing ever came of it. And I was like, okay, then I guess just now was the right time. They just wanted to chill in prison for a bit. I don't know.
And also, I want to say, how did he? I mean, I guess maybe early on in the fight he could have hidden one away, but with Eve, when she like locked all of his multiples up, and then just one is miraculously not locked up, I was like, what the fuck? This is a pretty open room. Like, how the fuck did you do that?
And that's the thing with duplicate. Like, she hid one of her people out just for safekeeping. Why wouldn't multiple?
Yeah, why wouldn't he? Exactly. Like, why is he? What does it matter that he's in prison? Like, why is he not doing exactly what Kate does and just like off in a cabin somewhere? He just has one chilling. You know,
his could, like, severed self is in prison.
Oh my god! Oh shit, they're blending.
That's like the smart thing to do. I just don't understand. I mean, whatever. Getting too into the weeds, maybe, but yeah, I enjoyed the multi-paul stuff, and I thought I love watching him use his powers. Titan is just such a, like, he just gets pushed around, bro. Every time he's on screen, he just like gets dot. Granted, that was part of the plan this time, but like, holy shit, man, what are your powers good for? You're like a less cool thing. Like, what the fuck?
A less complex thing. I did like the double crossing they did with what's his name? Isotope. I did like that. I thought that was all played out pretty cool. I'll go ahead and get into my thoughts. Yeah, I mean, it was just more Invincible, you know, it was cool.
Although, I'm a little confused. Why do they need Machine Head now that I'm thinking of it? Granted, I'm a week dry on this, so maybe
I couldn't tell you.
Because, like, why did they need to help Machine Head get out of prison in order to pull that off? All they needed to do was have Isotope pretend to abandon Titan, save Titan from falling if he even needed to be saved, right? And then why did they have to have Machine Head be the one to come shoot the dude in the head? All Isotope had to do, teleport in, teleport the big guy up like he does, and then teleport Titan in and have Titan kill that guy.
Maybe it was
why
something.
did Machine Head need to get out of prison for this?
Maybe I mean, I'm just, again, I could be wrong, whatever. Maybe it was just to get Mr. Liu out of power with the order. Because of the
maybe they would have
problem.
just filled his seat with somebody else, and then they wanted Machine Head to fill that seat. Maybe?
Yeah, and at least Machine Head, he can strike that deal with him at the end where he's like, just let me be. And Machine Head's like, dude, that little rant he goes on at the end. I don't know. He's just such an odd character. He's just so funny. But yeah, it was just more Invincible. I'm sure, as I've seen and have been spoiled and whatnot, the theme of this show is, we leave these people on cliffhangers because maybe they're more important later and show back up later. So it's like, is it really filler? If it's setting up something that happens in probably season 5 or 6, who knows? But that's probably what they're doing. So, at this point in time, was it really needed? Was like the fight and the whole, like, I need to help or I need to help Machine Head and Titan and this and that and this and we can't break out multi-pole, whatever. I mean, was it really needed? I don't know. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, definitely the weaker of the season, but I mean, we got one of the best episodes in maybe the entire show this week. So, it's like, it was expected. I knew it was going to come sooner or later. And then the Powerplex, the Invincible War and everything else would follow after and would be real cool. So I'm fine with it. Whatever, we're tackling them simultaneously right now. And yeah, so it's a decent episode. Can't complain. I loved
Ben smile, bro. That little Ben. That was a spoiler smile. I saw that.
I did love. I think the memes are at an all-time high right now. I think they are at an all-time high, especially with this season of Invincible. They are fucking awesome. They roll. They're so funny, dude, and they are so stupid. So all of the memes, like, Invincible cracking Eve, and then it's like what the fuck's his name? Oliver in the next room. And it's like just Oliver being up all night because he just like is super hearing Mark crack Eve. It's like, what? So then whenever we get to this episode and he's like, they were up all night playing and they kept me up. I couldn't sleep. And he's like, Oliver, chill. I thought that was such a good moment. I really did, because they're just brothers, and I thought that was real funny. Eve, why did you fly out the window if you were just going to come back to the front door? So good. So I can appreciate that. I thought that was a nice little wholesome moment.
Yeah. People just love to complain. Thoughts on the episode, Ben? You're uncharacteristically quiet.
Bro, I'm getting tired. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long day. No, it's a good episode. I honestly, since it was last week's and I watched it last weekend, like, I didn't remember too much. Like, it was a good episode. I liked it, but pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of the show. Part of that's probably because of, the episode I just watched as well. But like, you were bringing up the stuff with like multi-Paul and the fight with Adam Eve, and I'm like, I forgot about it till you just said something about it. Which, like, is not inherently a bad thing in the grand scheme of the show. Obviously, not every episode can be a crazy, amazing hitter, but still, like, really good. I'm enjoying every minute of it, which to me is the more important thing. Is like, they still have the story and the characters, and they're working that incredibly well. And so as long as there is some sort of through line, which there always has been, then I'll be happy, even if we get little breaks where it's not like as exciting of stuff happening to the story. That's what the episode felt like. And I'm not mad about it at all.
All right, baby. It's freaking time.
Episode 6, season 3, episode 6. All I
can't keep getting away with it.
Oh man, this one. I mean, it started off with a fucking bang, and I had chills and tears in my eyes. I had tears in my eyes because I remember thinking and watching. I had already guessed that it was going to be, he was going to be a jaded survivor from the Chicago stuff, right? I had already guessed that Powerplex. That's what Powerplex was going to be. I just didn't know who. And I remember watching season 1, and when he tries to save those two in the building, like tries to like he's holding onto their arms, and the whole building comes crashing down, and then he's just holding her arm afterward. I was like, dude, I remember watching that and thinking like, oh my God, that fucking sucks. Like that's gotta be horrible. And now I'm watching the loved one of those two people have to watch that. And it's just like, oh my God, man. Like that is amazing stuff. I know that sounds horrible for me to say, I guess, but that is amazing stuff, dude. What an opener. I was like, I'm fucking in. This is fucking sick. And then just from there, it got better and better and better. Truthfully, I mean, obviously, Aaron Paul, fantastic voice actor in this. I know there's a lot of yapping about how they spent so much money on famous voice actors for stuff
Cool. Money well
instead of the
spent.
animation. But like, yeah, this is. I mean, he did a really, really great job. Makes me excited. A little tidbit: he has a video game coming out where he's going to be a voice actor in that as well. So I'm already excited for that. So, but anyway. He does great in this. And I mentioned before we started recording that I thought the woman who was playing his wife in the show, I thought it was voiced by, it looked like Kristen Ritter, but I thought it was going to be Kristen Ritter, which would have been a nice little nod to Breaking Bad. And Jesse, and I forget her name in the show. But
Isn't
the
it like
girl,
Kate or something?
Yeah, actually that sounds right to me. Yeah. The girl that overdoses and Walt just lets die. Spoilers, I guess. If you guys haven't seen Breaking Bad, sorry.
It's their fault if they haven't.
That's true. It's been a long time. But yeah, man, I mean, the way that this conflict oh my God, it perfectly encapsulates everything else that Invincible has been struggling with. Mark has been struggling with this entire season, and his morality as far as like going too far with killing or needing to go farther when he doesn't want to, like how he does in episode 4, I believe it is, with the future version of Immortal. To come across someone who was directly harmed by his not that I think he could have stopped his dad anyway, but like his inability to like keep the conflict from away from all these populated areas and all this death. And just this season is very much revolving around the idea of death and killing, and if that's wrong, and like and struggling with the idea of like, if you couldn't do this one thing, then X, Y, and Z that happens afterwards is your fault. It's almost just like a stronger version of with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. It's like it's the idea of that, but just shown in a much grander scale. And I think that this episode and showing this character coming at Mark and challenging those ideals, I think is fantastic in every which way. And I can only hope that these next 2 episodes, because we don't even know what people think about them, because I think the reviewers have not gotten to watch them. So I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I know we're talking about this episode, but 7 and 8, man, I have high hopes for what those are going to bring beyond what the people who have read the comics are hyping them up to be. Just in terms of like writing for the character of Mark, I'm super excited. I'm glad that I have not read the comics either. Like just blind going into this, fantastic.
Yeah. I want to make a correction that Aaron Paul, his girlfriend in Breaking Bad, is Jane, not Kate.
Jane. Okay.
I don't know.
Kate
Like
sounded, no, Kate sounded right though when
it
you said
kind
it.
of did, but it kind of didn't. I was on the fence
He was
about
thinking
it,
of
but
duplicate. That's one.
yeah.
Invincible.
Oh my god.
Oh, the
I will
memes are
say though,
taking-
she is actually in Invincible. I looked at the X-ray after a little bit. Is voiced the woman who plays Powerplex's wife is voiced by Kate Mara. Kate Mara was Invisible
That name
Woman
sounds so.
in Fan Four Stick.
There
So
we go. Yeah.
speaking of Fantastic Four and Marvel, but
Yeah.
sorry.
Ugh.
Say that again.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, Aaron Paul just like, I mean, there were moments where I'm like, bro, he is just fully committing to this role. Like, I could literally like picture him actually him
Acting it out.
recording these lines and acting it out, which gives credit to his past acting ability. Specifically, I think Breaking Bad is what we all think of, but also gives credit to like he can pull that out for a voice acting performance. That's crazy. And like it's so distinct and unique to him, which like maybe isn't a super notable thing, but I feel like it is because I mean we had Multipole is Simu Liu,
Mhm.
but I don't hear Simu Liu because he doesn't
Yeah.
like to me he doesn't have like a staple iconic voice or performance or whatnot. He in my head I don't think of it that way, but Aaron Paul it's just like that is him through and through. Absolutely incredible. I honestly like all that I saw before the episode was like, oh, Aaron Paul is Powerplex. I had no clue who Powerplex was, how they were going to tie it into the story. I didn't know that, but honestly, like seeing an episode like this, to me, it makes me almost a little frustrated at how they've handled other things in the show. Even like the end of this episode, where they're teasing that they're finally going to continue the storyline with whatever multiversal. I don't even remember his name, but the villain that was teased.
Angstrom Levy.
Yeah, Angstrom. Like we cut to him and he's been set up over now multiple seasons. I feel like we've barely seen him. He's such a nothing villain to me, and he doesn't have as compelling of a backstory as Powerplex in one episode. Like that's to me that's what I start to think is like, oh my gosh, like they nailed Powerplex, and I wish that I've thought this about villains before, that just like other than Omni-Man, nothing's really hit that deep for me
Really?
until now, for me personally, which is okay because they do such a good job with like the relationships in the show, and the different dynamics and whatnot, that they don't need like a super compelling villain every single time. um, and I'm not saying that all of them have been like bad by any means, but this was like notably really good. This episode, like phenomenal. I kind of thought like, are we really doing like the whole introduce villain in one episode type of thing and go through this story, and then by the end I'm like, yeah, we did. And it was like actually amazing. Like it was so good. And I don't know if my take on the villains and whatnot is popular or agreed upon. Because I don't like it's not the focus of the show necessarily, but it was just such a highlight that like to me it highlights that difference that like I just don't feel the same depth of emotions with Angstrom at all. Like there were little moments when he was first set up, but it's still like he showed up and I'm like, right, he's mad at Invincible, and I'm sure it's going to lead to some cool things. But as a villain, he feels much more like I'm just mad and going to destroy a lot of things versus having such a grounded and visceral backstory for Powerplex. Yeah, but just
That's the thing.
great episode.
I think Angstrom works well. Not as well as Powerplex, though. I do think Powerplex is much better handled. But I would say that like they have similar backstories in terms of like hating Invincible, but just for Angstrom, it's on a much larger scale because like he has all of these different versions of himself that hate Invincible for taking over the world. And I guess some versions of him had a son that he killed or something like that. Um, I just don't think that they did anything super interesting with Angstrom and that idea of like all of these brains meshed into one. It kind of just became like one brain that hates Invincible.
Yeah.
And like and I saw somebody bring up a good point as far as like the end of this episode, and they weren't actually saying it, they brought it up as like a funny thing, but I actually think it's kind of like I mean, I wonder why, like he brought all of these in different Invincibles that have you can assume at least some of them have helped destroy the planet or take over the planet on these different worlds, and he wants to kill the one good Invincible. Like you have all of these Invincibles in front of you and you're not doing anything about them. You're in fact recruiting them to help you kill the one good one. Like that just seems, I don't know. Like I feel like the writing for that isn't as up to par with Powerplex per se.
I 1,000% agree with that. I guess I guess I'm just the way I'm looking at it is this Invincible is what did this to him. Like this is the Invincible that stopped him from his grand plan that he thought was doing good for the world. So it's like, and also he's just mentally ill. He is so
For
sick
sure.
because he has all of those brains in there. So I can see why how a sick person like that will be like, let me just grab the most evil marks across all dimensions just to kill this one little fucker that did this to me and won't die and killed me before in the most bloodiest, horrible way possible. But I agree. Power play, he doesn't hold the candle to Powerplex. Jesus. Um, Man, what a freaking episode. I mean, I'm just going to reiterate a lot of what y'all said. I thought Aaron Paul absolutely knocked it out of the park. He was so fucking good in this. If you want someone to play a broken man in a animated format or just, there, he is your guy. He has the voice. Like they didn't throw no hey bitch. Like they didn't throw any of that funny slick shit in there. It was just straight what you had when you had to sit there and watch the NAZIs kill your girlfriend. Yeah, we're just take that and make it this entire character. Like just use that for everything. So those scenes where he's just like sitting there screaming or he's sobbing, I was like, oh my god. So whenever he like inadvertently kills his wife and kid, it's like holy shit. Like I don't want to hear what this is going to sound like out of him. Like it's going to be gut wrenching. Like this is some dark shit. And I love Mark just being like, oh God, like this shit is horrible. Like it's getting out of hand. To deal with someone that's just so hell bent on making him pay. Um, and so, yeah, I think all of the work that they've done with all the work they did with Powerplex and all of the work they've done this season with showing how Mark's actions affect how they affect the villains that he takes out, how the biggest moment in this show, how that has affected people around him and villains. Like this whole season's theme has been like, look at all of these lives, look at how precious life is. So when Mark does have to kill, it's it, it hits that much harder.
Mhm.
It's a cool thing to play around with that I thought hit real hard this episode. I mean, there's like little bits like those two villains in a couple episodes ago that they spent a little bit of time on in the beginning, but then you get a whole episode like this that just feels like a movie. Um, and I even love whenever they're bowling and he's like on the TV and he's like, I want Invincible. And Mark just turns it off and he's like, there are other superheroes. Like, we're fine. And it's like, oh my God, like a part of me is like, this man needs his redemption. Like, but then I'm like, oh, but he wants to kill Invincible. And like, that's not the way to go about it. It's just such a tug of war with morals this entire episode and just showing these two characters that are just, I don't know, they're painting Mark in a light where you feel yourself being pulled into agreeing with the villain, but then you're like, well, shit, I have to take a step back and, really think about why I'm feeling like this. It's because their lives matter and are so precious, to where Mark's killing role comes into play big time. Um, I oh, I love that they completely flipped the trope on top of its head and just had his wife be like, "No, we're doing this. Like, if you want revenge, like, I'm right here with you. Like, let's come up with a plan. We could even fake a hostage situation." Like, she is on board. It's just crazy to see it consume him and his family as much as it has. And we don't really see that often. It's always like the guy that's going mad in his basement alone, and the wife's like, "Why don't you come hang out with the kids? Like, it'll be okay." But she's like fully on board to the point where it gets both of her and their baby killed. And it's just so jarring to see two sick people like that sharing that same thought, rightfully so, because I mean their loved ones just got absolutely obliterated by two superheroes fighting for no fucking reason. Like, obviously to us it's like Omni-Man's gonna take over the world, Mark has to stop him. But like to other people, it's just these two beings kicking the shit out of each other and destroying buildings everywhere, killing over 2,000 people. It just hits a lot harder. And I'm just gonna get this out, so I'm the first one that says it. The title card, fucking phenomenal this episode.
Oh yeah, it was,
Oh, shit.
It was really good.
Awesome.
I rewound it. After it passed, I rewinded it so I can watch
It's so, whenever he finally says it, and it's just like that. I was like, oh, it's great.
It never gets old, man. It never gets old. I want them to keep doing it. It never gets old.
Well, and it's cool to see the. Sorry, I'll let you finish, Ben. I just want to say it's cool to see what the title card has been referencing all season, which is all of the Invincibles just in different formats. So we see Viltrumite Invincible and Omni-Man dressed Invincible, stuff like that. So I think that's really cool. Anyways, go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna say, like, I like that the first season they did a pretty consistent thing with the title card where it was like slowly breaking over time, and it was always like, when a character in the show said the name or whatever. And then they played around with some other things, kind of teasing it in different episodes. They've always done something different. So I like that now it feels like they can use it. Weirdly, they can use the title card in a way that actually like elevates the show. And even this, like, the title card was like, what, 15, 20 minutes in or something? Like, it was so far into the episode, but it just worked. So I love what they've done with it now, where it's like, it feels like they have the freedom to do really cool stuff with it.
Great episode, man. I am very much looking forward to 7 and 8.
It's gonna be cinema.
I'm probably more so looking forward to 8, but I'm very intrigued on 7 just to see what happens with it, because I feel like there's been so much talk about that subject and the Invincible War. So I want to see what comes out with that. But also at the same time, I've been seeing a lot of people saying or telling other comic book people not to hype it up too much. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. I know that there's a lot of talk also. Apparently in the comics, there was a lot of different characters that showed up for it as well. Like Spawn was in there, and like that's never
wasn't Spider-Man in there. Brandon told me that like they had some Marvel characters in the Invincible War, which made it which elevated the war. And because there's no way that they're going to be able to do that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see that character from season 2, voiced by Josh Keaton, show up as like our Spider-Man stand-in.
Agent Spider, I think it was.
Yeah. But I mean, whatever.
I don't know.
No biggie.
It's been a great season so far. My list is looking great, but we'll see next week how Benjamin's shitty list is looking, and also next week Aiden will finally get his audience score on the board.
They're also finally releasing a show on a good day of the week.
Tuesday?
Yeah, that's a great.
Honestly,
It's
Tuesday
great
works
for you. It's
so
great for
well
you. I
for
don't
it.
think it's not bad for me, but honestly, Tuesday is one of the worst days of the week to drop a show. I feel like it just in terms of like viewership. I think I don't know.
Well, maybe, but I don't know. For me, like Wednesday through Friday is like the busiest time of my week.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know it sucks that like two of like the most like talk worthy shows in the and probably like the in the past year or whatever are both dropping on a day where it's just so hard for you to fit it in your schedule because it's like these Severance spoilers are about to go insane. Like if you're not watching it immediately, like it's so hard to avoid. And even like
Yeah.
these next 2 episodes of Invincible, I feel like are going to be, which I don't know. We have different algorithms. I know that I get that stuff immediately. My whole Twitter, like right now, like I was scrolling after the episode, it was all Severance. I'm not even kidding you, all Severance. Like not a single, like there was maybe some every, but it was all Severance. So I don't know. For me, at least, I can't scroll without seeing some memes about Invincible or anywhere on my TikTok. So I gotta watch these immediately, and yeah, but should be fun.
Yeah. I want to get it out this time because I forgot to put it out at the beginning of the show. You guys can leave us a comment. Please leave us a comment. We will read them at the beginning of every single show. I just flopped this time, but
Way to go.
yes, on YouTube, you can leave us a comment and we will read it aloud. You can also leave us some fan mail on Spotify or any other podcast listening platform, and we will read it at the beginning of every single episode. Speaking of Spotify, if you're on that or any other podcast listening platform, please drop us a rating. We would sincerely appreciate it, even if it's a bad one, so we can know to do better. If you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell, the subscription button, and hit the notification bell because we are uploading every single week.
Vincent Day over here.
Also,
Bro's
hit the like button. Hit
obsessed.
the like button so we know that you are liking our stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Adios.
Peace.
Sayonara.